Nagrika is a think tank which is focused on issues of small and mid-sized cities. We have been trying to mainstream citizens' voices in decision making, and we try to create knowledge that can shape unique, authentic, and resilient cities. And through our various initiatives, we bring voices and perspectives from smaller cities to the forefront of policy making and citizen consciousness. And through Talk in the Town, which is one of the platforms that we have created over the last 2 years, we try to gather perspectives of small city actors on the relationship that exists between citizens, their cities, and the policies that define them, and how we can make these relationships more stronger, and how citizens can inform policymaking through the various partners that enable this relationship. And in the past, we have had people who are youth, environmentally conscious people. We have had the last person who we spoke to has been trying to revive and save the only existing tramway system in Kolkata. We had somebody from Hampi and Anigundi who's been trying to create a culture-driven local economy in Hampi and Anigundi. And of course, there are a lot of others over the last 2 years that we've been privileged and honored to speak to. And today
That's very interesting, especially the tramway in Calcutta. It was something which was so identical with Calcutta.
And that's the only one that is remaining in India right now. And it is a very sustainable mode of transport, doesn't require so much investment, has absolutely no tailpipe emissions. But given the way the mainstream policy making has happened, and that's the unique part that we talk about, try to shape unique aspects of the city. This is a unique aspect that Kolkata had, which
there's some kind of an old world charm about it, because tramways don't exist anymore. So, it's so important that we keep all those old things alive for our future generations.
True, and they have been trying to bring out examples from multiple other places where the tramways were scrapped and now they've been brought back in multiple places in Australia and in Austria, in
Europe, yes.
Yes. And so yeah, this was a very, very interesting conversation. So if you get a chance, I'll share the link with you also.
I'd love to. I'd love to listen to that. Yeah.
Miss Vanitha Mohan, she is a prominent entrepreneur and an environmental and a passionate nature lover who's based in Coimbatore. She is currently the chairman of Pricol Limited, which is a major player in automotive components industry, and her leadership has significantly contributed to its growth. She holds a commerce degree and a postgraduate diploma in business management from the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, United Kingdom. In addition to her role at Pricol, she has been deeply involved in various social and environmental initiatives. She is the Managing Trustee of Siruthuli, an NGO she founded, which focuses on environmental conservation with a particular emphasis on water management and increasing the green cover in Coimbatore. Siruthuli has been instrumental in projects like cleaning and revival of the Noyyal River and promoting rainwater harvesting to recharge groundwater. It has been instrumental in rejuvenating lakes in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. And just to give you the most updated figure, they have restored more than 40 water bodies to store approximately 20,000 million liters of water and created more than 900 rainwater harvesting structures to harvest runoff rainwater. They have planted close to 9 lakh trees, which is 0.9 million trees, based on the Japanese Miyawaki method. And when I was in Coimbatore, I remember seeing it and hearing about it from a lot of locals as well. And these initiatives are part of Siruthuli's broader mission to address water scarcity and improve water management in the region. She's also been a past president of the Indian Chamber of Commerce Industry in Coimbatore and has held significant positions in other organizations aimed at regional development and industry collaborations. Her efforts in promoting gender equality are notable, and she has an initiative which reserved 25% of jobs at Pricol for women, which helped many achieve financial independence. So we are honored and very happy to have you here with us, Ms. Mohan. And with that, I would like to start our conversation with the first question about if you can very briefly talk about yourself and your relationship with the city, Coimbatore.
My relationship with my city, it's my home. We are basically from Andhra Pradesh. We moved maybe 400 years ago. And a group of people from Andhra Pradesh moved to Coimbatore because basically it has black cotton soil. And we were from the textile industry. We are growing cotton and stuff like that. So we moved to Coimbatore, and that's how our community settled in Coimbatore. For me, Coimbatore is home, so it's not different from my home. It is home. It's an extended home. So that's why I feel, it's very painful when you see a river which you uh, uh, grew up with going dry, and all the water bodies, the lakes and the ponds that you were able to see ducks swimming in it, and you fed the fish in it, and all those lakes and ponds going dry, containing sewage, and it just happened over a period of time. And I think I wouldn't like to blame anybody else, but I blame myself because I think we took it all for granted that it would always be that the lakes would be there, ponds would be there, the Western Ghats would be there with all the trees, and the rainfall would be there. And we didn't realize as we were growing up that it would all go if you don't look at it. And I think Mother Nature responds both positively and negatively. And this is what we have seen the last 21 years of Siruthuli. We have seen Mother Nature responding to us. She responds to negative feelings and she responds to positive feelings as well.
And I think when you call the city a home, the kind of relationship that you build and the kind of work that you try to do is towards your home. And the way we all have our personal homes, and we always are trying to. And once you build a home, you're always trying to improve it, always try to make it better. And as I have seen when I've come to Coimbatore and we've heard about the efforts of Siruthuli, I would like to briefly ask you to maybe talk a little bit about what Siruthuli is doing to improve the home that you call your city. And what does it mean? I remember it has something to do with water. So if you could talk
So
about
it
its
all
origin.
started in 2003, maybe before 2003. 3 years of continuous monsoon failure. And then literally the water situation came to a grinding halt. At 1,200 feet, there was no water in the bore wells. And then the reservoir, where we get our drinking water from, which is called Siruthuli, which is located in Kerala, it had only about 15 days of water left. Mm-hmm. And before that, as part of those days, CSR was not a buzzword. As a part of the rural development program in and around a factory Pricol in a village called Perinakimalayam, we were taking up pond reclamation, the streams rejuvenation and stuff like that in a very small way. But the results were so good, very satisfying. And I approached the district authorities and said, why can't we do it to the larger water bodies in Coimbatore? They said, no, there's no water in the river. Then we said, why is there no water? There's no water in the river. That's it. And then that made us curious. So a part of us from Pricol, the HR team, we set out on an expedition. We tried to trace the river from its origin in the Western Ghats. And what we saw was so beautiful, so beautiful. There was no reason for the river to go dry. And it only happened because of total negligence and irresponsibility. We just took it all for granted, encroached the streams, moved into the streams. We let the stream get silted up. So then we traced the entire river and right up to the city, which is about 35 kilometers. The entire length of the river is about 165 kilometers, running through 4 districts. So within Coimbatore district, it's about 35 to 40 kilometers. It was beautiful. The river used to come through the anickets, it would fill all the lakes and ponds and then go back to the river again. So there was no water that got wasted. And all the water was contained within the river basin. So that's how it had been. So then in 2003, when things became really, really bad, we approached a few of us got together and said, we have to do something. It was a do or die situation. Either we did something, got water, or what do? We don't have water. And we don't have any rivers close by for us to plead with Kerala or anyone to give us water. So then when we approached the district administration, they immediately gave us permission. So we took up one water body to start with a lot of apprehension. We didn't know anything about desilting or rejuvenating lakes and ponds. But then there was only this desperation and the war cry, we want water. That's how the whole thing started. Then halfway through, I was a little nervous. Are we doing the right thing? Because there was a lot of negative feedback from the adjoining people, the farmers in the adjoining fields. They said, I think you're wasting a lot of money. We haven't seen water in this part of the city for a long, long time. So I think you're just wasting your money. I think you'll have better uses for your money. Take it and go. So then we invited Dr. Rajendra Singh, who's known as the Waterman of India.
Yes.
So he came, and then when he saw the work that we had done, he was ecstatic. That's the right word. He was running all over the place. And then he said, if there's no water here, look at the Western Ghats in the background. The entire Western Ghats in the background, they will have to get all the rain into your region. So you be ready with your bartan. That's what he said. You be ready with your bartan and it will fill up. And sure did. With just 2 days of rainfall, the entire water body, which is about 55 acres, we had removed about 17 feet, 17 depth of silt, created a bund, and the whole place filled up. It was celebration time for Coimbatore. People hadn't seen so much of water. When you have streets lined with pots for water, waiting for the water tanker, this was such a welcome sign. So there was celebration. And then after that, there was no looking back. But he taught us this mantra. He said, where the water runs, when it comes tumbling down the hills, make it walk. Arrest the speed, through check dams and stuff like that. And then you make it stand. When it starts walking, make it stand in the ponds and lakes. Then when it stands there, it automatically sits in the lap of mother. It was so beautiful. And that's the mantra that we have been following all these years. And we have been very successful.
And this was in 2003.
We still have a very long way to go, of course. But that was the beginning in 2003. Gave us a lot of confidence. And then when people start believing what they see, right? When you just go and talk a theory, you have meetings, extended meetings, and say, this is what I'm going to plan, this is what we are going to do. People don't believe, but when they see water, when they see a place which was dry and parched, filled with water, then they start believing. Then it became it became a people's movement.
And you said that you did not have any expertise at that time. So could you maybe briefly talk about the work that happened at that time in those 2-3 days with the help of the community, which made this possible?
No, the project, the first project. The first project was the name of the lake was Krishnampati, and it was almost 50% of it was encroached. So we just took up the balance 50%, which is about 55 acres, and we had, of course, the JCBs and the tippers for removing the silt. And then we created a bund all around. We started planting trees on the bund. So today you should see those trees, beautiful trees. And the extra silt, we created islands inside the pond. So they have become islands for birds, perches for birds. So that's how the whole thing started. And one thing led to another. About 40 lakes and ponds have been done so far.
One of the other examples that I think when I had met you and talked about, and when I had come to Coimbatore at that time, I heard from a lot of people that now, of course, the example of lakes in the smart city proposal is given a lot of, but we hear a lot about Coimbatore's lakes project. But I heard a lot in Coimbatore, and I also had a chance to hear from you. And the lakes within the city of Coimbatore, how some of those lakes which were revived, and there was a lot of encroachment within the city on the lakes as well. And then, of course, now there are other projects that are being done in terms of making them pedestrian friendly and things like that. But how was the experience in 2003 when you actually mobilized? I remember you talked about some 600 acres and hundreds of people who came and joined you. Could you briefly talk about that effort, which was
When we
in the city
started our work in 2003, many people, most of the people did not know that there was a river flowing through the city. They thought it was just a sewage drain because most of the sewage found its way into the river. So it was a glorified sewage drain. They had hardly seen any fresh water flowing in the
Yeah.
river. So what we thought was we should create awareness among the people on the need, on first of all, the existence of a river, and then on top of that, how we can, as citizens, ensure that the river is protected, the river is restored and protected. So we organized a walk, a Noyyal walk. It was called Noyyal Yatra, October 2nd on Gandhiji's birthday. It was a 35-kilometer walk starting from the origin of the river. And we expected about 10,000 people. We did a lot of work, a lot of licensing with various institutions, education institutions, literally begged people to come for the walk.
Mm.
But the day of the walk, the media was very supportive. They used that opportunity to do a lot of research on the river, origin of the river, how the entire civilization came up along the river Noyyal. And it was fantastic. So people, we had close to about 1 lakh of people
Oh,
who
wow.
came. Yes, we just gave up. We said, we don't know how we're going to manage all these 1 lakh people. We expected 10,000. We were literally begging for 10,000 people. And we had more than 1 lakh people joining us. And that, it created an emotional bond among the people. And then after that, you had Noyyal departmental stores, Noyyal medical pharmacy, a lot of Noyyal. In fact, there's a Noyyal public school also. So that's how it became, the river became, I would say,
Joining force.
visible to people. And we spent a lot of time on creating awareness. We have we started off with 4 verticals. One was water conservation. Second was afforestation, because unless you have the trees, the city was growing, and the first victim were the trees. The trees were getting chopped, and heavy concretization, which meant we were losing the green cover. Third was waste management, because most of the lakes and ponds were being used as sewage dumps as well as garbage dumps. So unless you give an alternative, you give a solution to the people or to even the corporation, again, eventually it is going to become garbage dumps. So we thought we should get into waste management as well. And the fourth was awareness. We spent a lot of time connecting with schools. Even today, every Friday, we have about 5 schools, children from 5 schools coming to our office. And then we take them through the entire journey. Once a year, we have what is called the Nurture Nature Camp, where we have more than 100 students, and they have a hands-on experience on eco-conservation. It's a very popular camp that we organize every year during summer. But connecting with educational institutions, with corporates, with residential associations, and This year, especially, we because of the acute water scarcity, it just happened on March 22nd. We said let's organize a campaign running for 75 days, starting on March 22nd, right up to the Environment Day on June 5th. So 75 days of very, very, very intense campaigning, creating awareness campaigns. We have been able to successfully connect with different cross sections of the society, like hospitals, wedding halls, where they use a lot of water, caterers, who again use a lot of bottled water, um, hospitals, of course, industrial associations, trade bodies. This has yielded a lot of good results, and people have started looking at water differently. And combined with the acute water scarcity, we don't know whether we're going the Bangalore way. So that's a huge dagger hanging over the head, because the monsoon, we don't see any signs of the monsoon setting in anytime soon. So that's a big scare. So I think that has also helped us in this campaign. It's called Tuli Tuliyai Siruthuliyai, which means drop by drop. Little drops can make an ocean.
Okay. Yeah, I read about this, the campaign, the 75-day campaign. And uh, it's, I remember something that you had talked about when I met you, and that stayed with me. You had said that Coimbatore is a self-made city.
Yes, very
And
much.
I think that is something uh, that resonated because for Talk in the Town as well as for Nagrika, that has been some of the kind of example that we've been looking for, where the governments, of course, are trying to catch up with providing the kind of public goods that citizens need. And it's always that the government sometimes falls back given the demands that it has on the resources. But in Coimbatore, you exemplify this effort, which is almost a Bhagirath effort of reviving a river, which people didn't
It's
even
not
know.
just for
So
river, Tarun. I
yeah,
think it's
yes,
a whole lot of other things as well. If you look
true.
at, I don't know whether you've heard about this trade complex that we have. It is
This
something like your
Cordis,
Pragati Maidan, which has
the
been
cortisol,
Codicea.
yes.
Codicea was done by the industries, the people from the MSME sector. All of them
Yes.
got together and they started off. And today it's a matter of pride for
So,
Coimbatore.
so that's what I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to ask you about this unique role that the businesses in Coimbatore have
Mm.
been able to play over the last almost, I think, 3 decades. And
Yeah.
what is that role? And you gave one example already. But if you can talk about how it has impacted Coimbatore as a city and its citizens.
I think it is there in the ethos of the city,
Mm,
and its people. They all of them feel a sense of belonging, except that in the last
mm,
maybe a decade or two, we've had a lot of other industries coming in. We'll have a lot of people coming in from other
mm.
cities. So it takes them a while for them to get into this kind of a
I know.
emotion. I would say it's an emotion. And
Yes.
the emotion that we have towards our city is something very, very different. So that's why we pitch in. When Siruthuli started, we wouldn't have been able to do it by ourselves. There was a lot of support that came, you know. And when something good happens, that is something which is very peculiar to Coimbatore. People just pitch in, irrespective of whether they have seen the results or not. They know something good is happening. So then they pitch in. So that is disappearing from, I would say, many of I'm sure the cities, most of the other cities also had this kind of emotional connect with the people had an emotional connect. But over a period of time, when the city grows, then people start moving away from the city, right? They only look at, oh, it's my home, or it's my business, or what can I do to get my life better. The connect with the city goes. So I think reconnecting people with cities should be the job of um, maybe the people in power, at least the people who are, like, I would say, an MLA or an MP, because they're all local people, right? If they start doing that, I'm sure there will be a lot more camaraderie among the people, a lot more wanting to do something for the city. Kind.
So maybe you have not thought about it consciously, but do you think that Coimbatore as a city has certain unique aspects which create this sense of belongingness, which creates this camaraderie amongst the people who come from different walks of life? Because when I'd met people during the smart city research also, I think I met people who are running a pump industry, people who run a mall, who you were running automotive industry, automotive part industry. There were people from different walks of business and economics, but they all talk about Coimbatore with the same amount of passion that you did. So is there something that, because I've talked to people across multiple cities,
I
and
think
this was
basically,
something that, yeah.
I think basically we're all people, sons and daughters of the soil. We come from an agricultural background. That gives you a lot of connect with Mother Earth, right? And the place in which you live. I think that's one of the reasons. We were hardcore agricultural
Okay.
people. So I think that just grew with us.
That is something that we haven't thought about ourselves. So I thought I'll ask you that question. But thanks so much. Yeah, that does make sense. Uh, Maybe if you could talk a little bit about your current initiatives in keeping citizens involved, because I think for the lake related work and for Miyawaki, uh, I heard from various people and you also talked about it. So how do you keep the citizens involved? How do they come to you or you reach out to them? You talked about the awareness part of the work, but if you could spell out that, how does it look like?
If I'm able to, probably you have a problem. You want to do something like planting trees, or you want to have a rainwater harvesting structure installed in your premise within your premises. Then we keep talking about it a lot.
Okay.
I think that is very important. It's very important to keep telling people what is happening around you and what can go if this kind of a situation continues. Let's not be happy that our water bodies are filled with water. Unfortunately, they all have sewage water. And you know how sewage can percolate into the ground and your aquifers can get polluted. So we keep, wherever we go, we have a very active apex body team,
Okay.
which which is connected with service organizations, with industries, with trade bodies, business professional bodies. So we have members from representatives from each of these um, organizations with us. So they are connected, and then we keep talking about what is happening. And more important than anything else is the support that we have from the district administration. They look upon us as partners in progress, I would say. So if there is anything that they need, they would look up to us. They would say, why didn't you ask Siruthuli to come and so that has given us a lot of brownie points as well, I would say. And working with the government, I think makes a lot of difference. When initially I think they felt a little threatened. Probably they thought we had a hidden agenda of getting into politics and stuff like that. But once they knew that we had no such intentions, uh, they have been very supportive, because without the support of the district administration and the corporation, we won't be able to do anything. They give us all the permissions, and so that is one thing. And another thing is the farmer community, farmer fraternity in and around Coimbatore. For them, the water situation has eased up significantly. So then they believe that we are there to be partners with them and to see how we can uplift them, make a difference to their lives. And planting trees, I want to plant a tree. I can't go out. I can't go find a land where I want to plant a tree. And then we have all these little add-ons like, for a birthday, you can gift a tree. Some celebration, your family, you can plant a tree. And then we create little parks with this Miyawaki. So all that gives people the confidence that they can do something.
So when you mention this, so there seems to be a very positive space that you have created for citizens, for farmers to know that, okay, there is somebody who can do this. And so when you say that there is a network of, there is an apex body, so this, I'm assuming you're talking about Siruthuli, right? So in terms of a platform, how does it look like? Is it that citizens are able to reach out directly through the various network partners, or you yourself proactively reach out and create, say, for example, I remember reading about the nature camp. So are there more such initiatives which give a physical platform or a physical space for people to realize that, okay, there is an organization that is working so positively towards the various issues for the city? Because the idea for us is to figure out that what kind of a platform does Coimbatore now have through Siruthuli, which creates this bonding.
When it is a happening place, when something is happening, 2 months in a row, if there's nothing in the news about Siruthuli, people ask us, "Hey, what's happening? Have you all gone to sleep?" That kind of a thing. So the press is very supportive. That is very, very important. So they are constantly asking us about what we are doing, and they like to carry the news. So all that is, people are watching. People know that something is happening. Either we've taken up a rainwater harvesting structure, or there's a place where the water has been stagnating during the monsoon, and we've constructed a rainwater harvesting structure, and the water has, got drained, and stuff like small things like this. But when you experience, and when you personally experience, and when you experience it within the city also, I think people know that something good is happening. And even for a person who's walking on the road, for him to say if there is water in Coimbatore, it is only because I think that is something which gives us a lot of confidence, gives us a lot of hope that yes, these are people who will make sure that the river is clean and protected. I'd like to share one experience, one particular project. This is a huge water body right in the middle of the city, 350 acres. And when we approached the commissioner for permission to take it up for desilting, he said 350 acres. No, there's no such water body there, because it was a thick jungle with a lot of unlawful activities happening inside. So then we made a paka proposal and gave it to him, and then he said, "Okay." Then when we started cleaning up the place, we thought, why not involve the citizens? We'll invite all of them. We'll tell them every Sunday, come and do your bit. Let's clean up this tank. Of course, the JCBs, the Hitachis, and the tippers were all there. But every Sunday, without fail, people would come in thousands. We thought initially the first Sunday we were planning for about 200 people. Our immediate friends network, and about 200 people. The very first Sunday we had about 3,000. And then every Sunday after that, it was in 10,000, 20,000. That's how many people who started coming. And just came there, even elderly people who couldn't even walk, just came and sat there. Brought their own chairs, sat there, and helped to to supply water for the volunteers. Little kids with their toys coming and playing there. It was so beautiful. And what happened was, this was over about 6 or 8 weeks, over 8 Sundays. And then the monsoon, the southwest monsoon. Normally, the southwest monsoon is not a very active monsoon. For us, it's the northeast monsoon which is active. So, southwest monsoon set in, and then water started coming into this huge lake, 350 acres. To this day, it's going to be uh, 14, 15 years. 15 years, the lake is still full of water. It was so beautiful. We didn't expect that. Water started coming, and then we all ran with aartis to welcome water into the lake. And recently, I met a youngster with his father. And obviously, the boy was putty there at that time. The father said, my son always says, there is water in this tank because I went and worked on it. That sense of it has left such a deep mark, indelible mark in the child's mind. So these were all experiences. And the first, this also I must share with you, the first tank that we were doing, of course, a few corporates, we chipped in. And then we said, okay, we can't go and ask anyone for money. So we started doing it. Then I went to my office and I saw this letter on my table. It was all wrinkled and handwritten letter. An elderly lady had written in Tamil, I'm a widow and I have two sons. God has been kind enough to give me two sons. And all the three of us have to work if we have to have food. But nevertheless, every Sunday, I'll send my boys to work on your project, pro bono. That was, even when I think of it today, I have tears. I think Siruthuli it has its roots in such people. And then there was this elderly person who washed toilets, public toilets, and gave us 10,000 rupees. Wow. And that is the reason for all the water that we have in our lakes and ponds. If I can give 10 lakhs and I give 2 lakhs, that's nothing. But for a lady for whom 3 people earning for their bread and butter to let go of 2 days of wages and to share it with Siruthuli, I think that was truly, we've had such beautiful emotional moments throughout our journey of 21 years.
That's so beautiful. I think this shared sense of belongingness and calling one city a home can only enable that, because when you live in one home, then everybody is family. And this is the kind of thing that you do for family. So that's so beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing that. I remember another thing that you've been doing in Coimbatore, which is being talked about a lot in various other cities also, and you'd already worked on a few of these projects. So if you can briefly also talk about the Miyawaki projects that you're doing in Coimbatore and how it is, how this also involving communities and impacting the city.
Miyawaki, and I wasn't very sure how can you plant trees with the gap within a distance of 3 feet. But then we did it as an experiment, and within a matter of 6 months, we had a dense growth, So that's how the whole thing started. And it was in one of our plants of Pricol. That particular place was so dry. You couldn't even see a lizard there. It was absolutely dry. And then the minute we planted this little Miyawaki patch, on 11 cents of land, we had about 1,300 trees planted. And within a matter of 8 months, there was so much of biodiversity there. Birds, throughout the day, you could hear bird songs. Butterflies, bees, there was a beehive. And it was really dramatic. So that's when we said we have limited space, right? The city was growing and it's becoming a concrete jungle. So we need a few green jungles here and there. And wherever we could see reserve sites, we said the best way to go is not space planting, but close planting.
Okay.
This Anna University campus we have in Coimbatore, the Coimbatore campus of Anna University is about 15 kilometers from the city. And they had just moved into their new campus, and they said, "Can you come and plant? We need some trees. No trees at all. So could you plant 100 trees?" I said, "Sure. We are looking for space, right, to plant trees." So 100 trees was music to our ears. Said, "Okay, let's go there." And we went and saw the place, huge space. And very meekly we said, "Can we plant 500 trees if you don't mind?" I said, "Of course, can plant 500 trees. That would be wonderful." Today we have 95,000 trees.
Oh, wow.
95,000 trees, and the whole place has transformed. And now we have even panthers coming there, deer, the droves of deer come there, and elephants.
Oh, wow.
Provided water, so the elephants come for water. And of course, it's all harmless. They take care of it. But when you go and stand next to that place, it's literally like being inside an AC room.
Wow.
And there are always clouds hovering around that particular, yeah.
And I'm sure it's the temperature-wise also, it is at least 3-4 degrees cooler.
3-4 degrees, yes. So that was a great experience, learning experience for us. And we have been replicating that, but not so much. And there are a lot of lands belonging, reserve sites belonging to the railways. So we are working very closely with the railways. Wherever they have vacant land, we've been planting trees.
Okay.
So that's how we have been able to achieve the 9 lakh number.
That's amazing. Yes.
Places that were being used as public toilets, garbage dumps, all of them we have been able to convert them into green oxygen sites.
Could you also maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you might have faced while you were trying to do some of these things? Of course, challenges are part and parcel of this long process. But if you could maybe share some examples of how, while doing some of the work on the river rejuvenation or on the lakes and the ponds, what are some of the kind of challenges that appear when it comes to involving the community or keeping them?
Biggest challenge as far as water is concerned, with afforestation, we've not had any problems. And we are focusing a lot on panchayat lands. We're working very closely with panchayats because they have a lot of reserve sites. So we are focusing on those places because within the city, it's very limited. Although corporation has a lot of sites, they are not forthcoming with providing us water because you need water, you need electricity, and all that becomes a challenge. Although there are more than 1,000 reserve sites, but it's all small parcels of land. But even 1 acre is more than enough to create a little oxygen parlor. But oxygen, we call it an oxygen factory. We call it an oxygen factory. That is a challenge as far as afforestation is concerned. But water, the biggest challenge we are facing, it's very painful. Sewage is being let into these water bodies. So where we need to have clean rainwater, we have sewage. So we have taken up this it's a mega project. I don't know, we need a lot of support for this. So we are trying to lobby with the government. It is called Nalla Thanni. Nalla Thanni is clean water. How are we going to set up sewage treatment plants? Because even the smart city was the biggest deterrent for that. When they were coming up with this smart city, they were planning, they have a lot of concretization all around the water bodies. And primarily, water bodies should have a lot of greenery, should have a lot of marsh land for birds to come and roost. We used to have a lot of migratory birds, Siberian birds especially, coming into this particular water body that I was talking to you about, 350 acres. A lot of Siberian birds used to come. Now they're all gone because the marsh has been disturbed. The marshland has disappeared. In its place, we have concrete slabs. So that is a little painful, to see sewage, and then you take the groundwater, you test the groundwater. It is heavily polluted, heavy pollution. So we're trying to see, government is also being supportive, but it's very costly. That's not something that citizens can do. So we're trying to see how government can, pollution control board especially, how they can support us. Because going forward, this is going to be a huge challenge. And waste is wealth, whether it is solid waste or liquid waste. If you can treat both, manage it well, water can be used, the treated water can be used for, industries can use it for their coolants and even for flushing. Where you don't have water, all this can substitute for that. So we'll have to look at, we are trying to tell the government that you have to make it commercially viable. For people, startups can come and take up, sewage and solid waste management if it is commercially viable. Like for instance, if you can treat water and sell it for, it's a few paise that it costs per liter. It can be sold. Industries will, buy it when there's acute water shortage. Industries will buy it. So we'll have to think differently.
So, but this, when you say in government, and that's one of the questions that I want to ask, that where are the interfaces that you have as Siruthuli, as this dynamic industry bodies that Coimbatore has? Which are the areas of interface through which you are able to influence? You talked about district administration earlier. You also talked about some of the challenges that you face with the municipal corporation. But what are some of these spaces where there is an opportunity to influence policy making?
We are very closely connected with the Chamber of Commerce, Codicia, and all these are platforms which connect work very closely with the government, right? And both the state government as well as the local administration, we have a good equation. Over these 21 years, I think that we have been able to, they don't look at us as
competition or
competition.
Okay. So, but if we were to think about the policy as a spectrum in terms of influencing policy, where the one side of the spectrum is extremely small kind of changes that, okay, moving a tree from here or there, or creating a small infrastructure part, to a very large infrastructure kind of intervention, like for example, creating a STP plant. What kind of influence does the industry body and organization like yours is able to have in Coimbatore? Is it, or are there examples where you've been able to work closely with the government to?
No, we are able to work closely with the government, but the unfortunate part is, I don't think the kind of importance that needs to be given for a area like sewage is being given.
Okay.
The seriousness of looking into treating your sewage or managing your garbage, because garbage is a huge problem in Coimbatore. We have a garbage yard, Vellalore, where garbage is dumped over there, and over so many years, it has started leaching, and so much of pollution problems are coming up. But I don't blame the government also, because people have to support, right? Even if you say I'm paying my taxes, still you have a sense of responsibility. We keep telling people, today you have sanitary workers to clean your garbage and your sewage. All their children are going to schools and colleges. They're not going to come. They're not going to come and take up the profession that their parents were doing. We won't have sanitary workers. So in that case, what happens? So isn't it our responsibility, if you can make it zero garbage homes, recycling, reusing, reducing, primarily reducing your consumption, And then you be conscious about everything that you use. Small little things, but it can happen. And eventually it's these little drops that make an ocean. How can you blame the government for this? When we are so careless about bundling everything up, you want your house to be clean. You go and dump it on your street. Your street, naturally, it's going to be uh, smelly and stinky. I think
That's true. I think
everyone has a that civic. I always believe in, when I say CSR, I call it civic social responsibility. It is not corporate social responsibility,
all the
right?
people who live in a city have that responsibility towards the city,
Everyone.
of course. Yes.
Don't you expect your children to do some work in the house? So similarly, you have to do what you have to, at least to manage your water and your waste.
I think that's
And
the
another very important thing is rooftop rainwater harvesting. Going forward, it's going to be very imperative that every drop is saved. Someone was asking me, why do you say we'll have to, each individual home has to harvest its own rooftop water? Uh, it can go into the street, and from the street, it will find its way into an nala or something like that, and eventually into a pond of the river. So why should we bother about, why should we walk that extra mile harvesting every drop that falls on my roof? So I said, fine. One day, if God decides that instead of water, I'm going to send you gold coins. So would you let it roll onto the road? So he said, no, 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 I'll grab my neighbor's gold coins. That's how it's going to be. That's
true.
how precious water is going to be. It's going to be blue gold. Yellow gold will fade into
True.
insignificant. Yeah, no consequence, no, absolutely no significance at all. Blue gold is going to be the way forward.
You know, and I think there are multiple people in multiple cities who's realizing the value of this drops of water, where the water scarcity is, especially some of the northern cities as well, must be very close by Shimla. So
Now, this year
yeah.
especially,
Mm.
everywhere in India, it's the heat. Okay, on one side, climate change. We're talking about climate change. What are we doing about climate change? I think it's everyone's responsibility.
No, I think that's the reason. I think for most of the problems, I guess there is so much in the mainstream discourse. I think the supply side solutions are always thought about, but the role of citizens, the demand side, whether it is heavy traffic, whether it is excess garbage or excess use of water, I think if citizens and if people realize that if they reduce,
Yes,
if and if they become part of the solution, then the role of the government, the role of those who are supposed to manage these problems can become much easier. So I think that way, your example, the work that you're doing in Coimbatore is a testament to that possibility. And I hope that,
it's a lot of hard work,
yes,
but I think it'll be, every bit of it will be worth it
yes,
when you look back 10 years from now.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad that we are able to have this conversation and talk about it and amplify. And I'm sure there are more people who are trying to do this and would be inspired by the work that you're doing. And I think we're just coming towards the close of this, but I wanted to ask you maybe two last questions.
Yeah.
One, I think the first one is, what do you see the work for Siruthuli in the coming next 5 to 10 years? What are the kind of activities, what are the kind of vision that you have for Siruthuli or for the city of Coimbatore? And
Now, two things that we need for survival: water and air. We only have to focus on that and ensure both are clean.
yeah,
We don't want polluted air. Air is there, but you can't breathe polluted air. Water is there, sewage is there. You can't drink sewage.
thank you.
So, two important things which have to be purified, I would say. It's literally, they have to be purified. And if that is done, I think we would have made it.
And the last question is, what is a message or few words that you would want to share with other organizations or other actors and institutions who are trying to do something similar? I myself picked up a lot of things, but if you were to share something with people who are trying
Again,
to do something similar.
I would say that our priorities have to move. What are your priorities? Bring focus on your priorities, right? We pay a lot of attention to healthcare. So much of money is available for healthcare. So much of money people are willing to spend for education, scholarships and stuff like that. What we request people is just 2% of what you would set, 2% of what you would set aside for charity. If you're able to use it for, water and air, we'll have a much better place to live in. See, you have a living example in Indore. Indore has made a dramatic change. If Indore can do it, why not Coimbatore? That's how I keep telling people. If Indore can do it, and it was much more filthy, if they have been able to literally they have turned over. We can do it, right? And I think it is each one's responsibility. We are talking of a whole lot of things, trillion economy, all sorts of things. But unless these two things are safe and sure for your children, what are we talking about? Will there be an economy at all? We'll have to first be alive to, experience that economy.
Right. I think we're moving to luxuries without talking about bare necessities. So
Bare necessities, yes, that's the word. Let's look at bare necessities. Work on it. Keep it safe. And then you work on it. You can do whatever you want.
nice.
Once that is protected, everything else will become easy.
Sure. No, I think that's what should I say, a million liters advice. And thanks so much for sharing so candidly the work that you've been doing, the amazing work that you're
I
doing for
enjoy speaking
Siruthuli.
to you, Tarun. And every time I
And
speak to people like you, it is like reaffirming my faith in humanity that things will change. There will be
yes,
a time
yes,
when people will give a lot of priority to what is your bare necessity.
true. And I hope that we are able to circulate, share, amplify this great work that you are doing in Coimbatore, and more cities, more people can learn from it, and we can be a platform through which some of this work
I think you're
gets
already
amplified.
I think you're already a platform. Just addressing it will, will move the cobwebs from your mind.
Yes,
It's
true,
basically the cobwebs in your mind which you don't want to address, and then you have all these um,
true,
you you chase your own shadows. You
true.
don't
No, I
look
think
at
what you
what really needs to be seen.
because I think that's something that you said, that when people see, they believe, and I think this is a part of our attempt to at least put things that people might not be seeing, because you've shown it to people live in physical spaces. We hope that we can talk about it and bring it to virtual spaces, and through when we go visit multiple cities, we talk about it. I've been talking
So
about
it
Siruthuli
has to
example
become
to
an
some people.
experience
Yeah.
center. That is what we
Yes.
keep telling. Coimbatore has to become an experience center. So where people can come and say,
Come.
okay, way to go.
Yes.
And we're
Absolutely.
also planning to, it's still in a very nascent stage, Center for Excellence for Water.
Nice. Okay. I hope that there is a way in which in future we've been working on something in Udaipur and in some other cities, a project on, it's called Nagrika Connect, where we're trying to create voices, platforms, and pathways around
Yes.
water. And sure, there would be something that
So
we
the
can learn. And
youngsters, it's a question of harnessing their energy. If you're
yes,
able to channelize, because there's so much, they're bubbling with energy. If you're able to channelize their energy into something like this, I think
so,
you
no,
will really be able to make a huge difference. Especially this
thanks.
year when we had the Nurture Nature Camp, just got over last month. The kids were so happy, little things that we made them experience. And I'm sure we've added about 150 green warriors to our movement.
Yes, I'm sure. And again, kudos and congratulations, ma'am. And
Thank you so
great.
much. It was
Thanks so much for your time. Yes,
Yeah,
we really enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. Thanks.
thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.